During the meeting, the boss coughed softly. Chloe and I reached out with our cups at the exact same time. One held lukewarm, plain water, the other, an iced sparkling drink. The boss lifted his eyelids faintly and took Chloe's drink. The HR manager stared at their hands brushing together in that ambiguous way, lost in thought for a long moment. After the meeting ended, he called me into his office. The boss and Chloe dated for 8 years. You saw it yourself, there's a real chance they'll get back together. Moving to Austin is a promotion, sure. But it's thousands of miles away. We can't afford to cross the boss, so you're the one who has to take the transfer. I swallowed the bitter tightness in my throat and said, okay. Then I sent the boss a text. Let's get a divorce. I went back to my cubicle and sank back into my chair. Exhausted, the HR manager's words looped in my head. I never even saw her resume before she got hired. Later I looked it up on the old college forum. They were madly in love for 8 years. Now she walks into his office like she owns the place. Did you see it just now? He took the cup she'd been drinking from and sipped from it directly. That's basically an indirect kiss. Right. At the thought, my chest felt stuffed full of heavy cotton. I couldn't breathe it in, couldn't push it out. I was staring at the relocation agreement on my desk, hesitating, when a coworker tapped lightly on the surface and murmured, "Mr. Pierce wants you in his office." I said okay, tucked the unsigned contract into a drawer, and headed up to the top floor. I'd just raised my hand to knock when Ethan caught my wrist and pulled me into his arms. His cool cedar scent wrapped around me. He rested his chin on my forehead, his voice soft and tender. Is the project you're working on giving you that much trouble? I just wired $10 million to your account. Go take a break. Okay. Before I could answer, he made the decision for me, casual as anything. You've always wanted to see the auroras in Iceland, right? This is the perfect chance to take some time off. That project you've been leading. Hand it over to Chloe. I shoved him away hard and looked him straight in the eye. He looked the same as always, sharp, tailored dark suit, the top button of his shirt undone carelessly. He exuded that distant, effortless, restrained allure. When he saw my dark expression, his smile faded and he tried to reason with me. The office gossip is bad for Chloe. Everyone says she only got the job through connections. If she can land this project, it'll help her establish herself here. I laughed bitterly. You know exactly how hard this client was to win. You don't know how many nights I've gone without a full night's sleep. And now, when we're almost at the finish line, you want me to hand it to her. In that moment, I flashed back to the break room right after the meeting, where people were talking about me. So full of herself. It's hilarious. Like the boss would ever take her drink with Chloe around, kissing up like that. And she doesn't even know her place. Hurt washed over me all at once. When I spoke again, my voice cracked before I could stop it. I mean it. Let's get a divorce. Even I can see it now. You and Chloe belong together. At the sight of my red-rimmed eyes, Ethan's impatience died in his throat. He froze. He looked down at me. Anya, Before he could finish, the door to the lounge swung open. Chloe sauntered out, stretching lazily. Ethan. Not bad. You remembered I'm a light sleeper, got those thick blackout curtains and even got me headphones. Guess you do have a heart after all. Her gaze landed on me and she paused, looking apologetic. Am I interrupting? I'll get out of your way. She gave me an ingratiating smile, grabbed her bag, and made to leave. Right as she reached the door, something occurred to her. She turned her head and smiled at Ethan. Oh, right, Jasper said he's been super stressed lately. Been bugging everyone to go out for dinner and unwind. It's pouring outside. Can I catch a ride with you? Ethan didn't answer. He looked at me and spoke in a low voice. You know, Jasper, we've been close since college. It's just a group dinner. That's all. He took a deep breath and added softly, I'll come home and explain everything tonight. Okay, if you're tired, go to bed first. I'll tell Martha to heat you up a glass of milk. I kept my eyes downcast. In my peripheral vision, I saw Chloe's haughty posture, the challenge in her eyes. I thought about all the times before, no matter how upset I got, Ethan would brush it off with the same line. That's all in the past. You're my legal wife now. Then I thought about the relocation agreement. I dug my nails into my palm and forced my voice to stay steady. I'll wait. We do need to talk about the divorce. After all, the only answer was a long, Heavy silence. When I looked up, Ethan was already walking out with Chloe. I could just make out Chloe's playful laugh. Who knew your wife was such a pick-me girl? Seriously, look at her act. Doesn't it make you feel bad? Ethan's face was blank. Indifferent. I've explained this 100 times. We broke up amicably. There's no feeling left. No chance of getting back together. I don't know why she's so jealous over nothing. The rest of his words vanished the second the elevator doors slid shut. I laughed bitterly to myself. The perfect marriage I'd once believed in turned out to be nothing but a joke. I didn't hesitate any longer. I went back to my cubicle and signed my name on the relocation agreement. Sharp and clean. Look on the bright side, I told myself. Austin was thousands of miles from New York. But it was much closer to my parents' house. I'd finally have time to spend with them. The rain was coming down hard. Ethan had sent a driver for me, but the car was parked far away from the building. He'd always said he was worried that going public with our marriage would spark rumors. That would hurt me. After all, I was just a small-town academic overachiever with a pretty face. No one would ever guess someone like me could end up legally married to a man like Ethan Pierce. Mr. Pierce had the chef flown in from that restaurant you loved in Italy. He poached the whole team. The driver pulled over and spoke to me. Enjoy your dinner. The new Hermes collection will be delivered shortly. I froze. A deep, hollow exhaustion washed over me. He was always like this. One minute he seemed so thoughtful, so good to me. The next, he felt like a stranger. I was still zoning out when Ethan called. When I answered, I realized he'd pocket-dialed me by accident. On the other end, someone sighed, sounding genuinely regretful. Ethan, seeing you and Chloe together like this, it still gets to me. Man, you two were so good together. 8 years. How many 8-year stretches do you get in a lifetime? And you just called it off like that. You know, when you married that Anya girl, we all told Chloe if she wanted to crash the wedding, we'd have her back. My breath caught in my throat. So the coldness I'd always felt from Ethan's friends wasn't just in my head. They'd never liked me, not even a little. Then I heard Ethan laugh. Exasperated. Shut up. No one's crashing any wedding. There's nothing between me and Chloe anymore. 8 years is a long time. We're basically family now. Family stays together forever. Chloe huffed, cutting him off sharply. And you think you'll never get bored of that boring little trophy wife of yours? Then why aren't you home with her tonight? Admit it. Ethan, you're just infatuated with the newness. Give it 8 years. Hell, 3 years. And you'll be sick of her too. A long silence followed. All I could hear was Ethan's heavy breathing. He didn't argue, and I exhaled, relieved. Good thing I'd already decided to leave. Sunk costs don't belong in big decisions. Cutting my losses now wasn't too late. Late that night, Ethan stumbled in just as I finished putting together the divorce papers. Ethan. Sorry, ma'am. Mr. Pierce is drunk. The driver helped him onto the sofa. Speaking respectfully, everyone drank too much and stayed at the hotel. But Mr. Pierce insisted on coming home to his wife. The rain slowed us down. That's why we're late. I glanced at Ethan. He was slouched lazily on the couch, his dark eyes hazy with alcohol, his features soft and loose. He looked up at me, gaze unfocused but almost hypnotic, and said, "Wife, come here." The driver took the hint and left, closing the door behind him. I sighed and turned to head to the kitchen to make ginger hangover broth, when I heard Ethan mumble, half asleep, the name slipping out unconsciously. Chloe. Chloe. Clatter. The spoon slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. Martha rushed in at the sound, hurrying to clean up the shards while she tried to comfort me. Don't be upset, dear. 8 years together, old habits just slip out without him noticing. But he married you, didn't he? You're the one he brought home. He put so much work into courting you. That proves he loves you. Not her. I didn't argue. I knew better. I was sick of this life. This past year, no matter what Ethan and I were doing, one call from Chloe would yank him away. One day her car got rear-ended. The next, some creep was following her. It wasn't until 2 months ago, when Ethan moved her close to him at the company, that he finally relaxed. 1,000 tiny, trivial things like that, piling up until they felt unbearable. From now on, I wasn't going to put myself through this anymore. I didn't want to see Ethan again. I didn't even want to have the talk. So while Martha was in the kitchen making the broth, I packed up every luxury gift Ethan had ever given me. 18 huge suitcases full. I hired a moving truck and left that house. I booked a presidential suite at a hotel near the office. I planned to stay there until my transfer went through. Now that my mind was made up, every minute of waiting felt like an eternity. I got to the office early the next day, left the divorce papers on Ethan's desk, and went straight to the HR manager to ask how soon I could leave. He was going through some files when we heard shouting from outside. We exchanged a look and ran out to find Chloe passed out on the floor. Everyone was panicking, no one knowing what to do. I remembered Ethan mentioning she had low blood sugar. I was digging a juice box out of my bag to give her when Ethan came rushing in. He shoved me aside without a second thought and said coldly, "Get out." He pushed hard. I stumbled and lost my balance, slamming my calf into the edge of a desk. Blood ran down my leg. But Ethan didn't see. He just asked sharply, "Did someone call 911? When someone said yes, he patted Chloe's shoulder gently. When she gave a faint response, his tense posture relaxed. He took glucose tablets from his assistant and placed them in her mouth. 5 minutes later, Chloe came to. The ambulance arrived right after. Ethan stood up and said calmly, "I knew this old thing would flare up again. I've carried glucose tablets on me for years, just in case." He never glanced my way, not once. Before they left the building together, I took a photo of my bleeding calf and sent it to Ethan. Then I took the day off and went to the hospital alone. After my wound was dressed, I checked my phone. Ethan had wired me another 10 million. How could you be so careless? Get the best care, no matter the cost. I have urgent business right now. I can't be with you. I stared at all the zeros in my bank balance and texted back a docile, "Okay." The HR manager told me I could leave as soon as the project contract was signed. I felt completely calm now. I thanked him and went straight back to my desk to wrap up the final details. I barely slept all night getting all the documents in order. I called the client, ready to celebrate, when their secretary said, confused, "But we signed the contract yesterday." Cold sweat broke out all over me. My mind went blank. "What do you mean? What do I mean?" The secretary sounded puzzled. Mr. Pierce came in person with his team to sign it. The final revisions weren't as polished as the earlier drafts, but it's still a solid deal. And for pop, the sound of party poppers went off in the office. Then Ethan's secretary's voice rang out, cheering, "Congratulations to Chloe on landing the big account." Mr. Pierce said everyone gets double bonuses. Chloe stood in the middle of the crowd, blushing as everyone congratulated her, my face cold with anger. I marched straight into Ethan's office. Ethan had just gotten there himself. He was slouched back on the couch, rubbing his temples wearily. When he opened his eyes and saw me, he gave a tired laugh, his voice rough. "I knew you'd come. Sorry. We had a celebration dinner for Chloe after signing yesterday. Went on till dawn. Did you sleep okay alone?" I glanced at the divorce papers on his desk, untouched, then looked back at him and demanded coldly, "What gave you the right to give my project to Chloe? I don't care how she got hired through the back door, but now she's taking credit for my work." "Anya," Ethan cut me off, frowning, "Tired. Do I not give you enough money? You're coming at me over a few $100,000 in bonus money. I told you, this is to help Chloe establish herself here." When he saw I was shaking with rage, he relented a little. "Fine. Once she's more capable, once she can handle things on her own, I'll transfer her out. I think there's an opening at the Austin branch. I'll send her there. Just stop fighting with me over this, okay? I'm exhausted too." Ethan lifted his wrist slowly, checked the time, and sauntered over to his desk. His gaze landed on the divorce papers and froze. He picked them up, about to read them carefully, when the intercom buzzed. Ethan's face went cold. He pressed answer. The next second, the HR manager's voice filled the empty room. "Mr. Pierce, now that the project is wrapped up, should we start the transfer process for Anya Reed?" Ethan stared at the thin stack of divorce papers, his face turning dark with anger. He turned slowly to look at me, fury building in his eyes, but he held it in and snapped into the phone. "You're the head of HR. Do you need to ask me about every little thing? Whoever wants a transfer, you handle it. Bring me the papers to sign when you're done. Do I need to say it again?" All Ethan could see was the divorce papers. He hadn't even processed what the manager had said. I barely had time to breathe a sigh of relief when I heard the sound of paper tearing. Anya read. This isn't the first time you've brought up divorce. He looked at me like I was being complete. Unreasonable. His voice icy. I've thought it over. Is this all because I took Chloe's cup at the meeting? It was just a reflex. Is it really worth all this jealousy and drama? I froze. I thought about all the times this had happened before. I'd done nothing wrong. But Ethan always found a way to make it my fault, to lecture me like he was in the right. I just looked at him, silent, after a long, heavy pause. He spoke in a tone like he was doing me a favor. I know you were worried about me when my throat was sore those days, but I didn't mean anything by it. 8 years together. It's just habit to take the cup from her hand. I promise it won't happen again, okay? I kept my eyes down, thinking fast. How could I get Ethan to sign the transfer papers? I'd almost forgotten about them entirely until he'd just mentioned it. The way things were going, he'd never let me leave willingly. My thoughts were a tangled mess when Ethan's cousin, who'd been living abroad, walked in. She swept into the office with a gift, bright and breezy, and laughed. I was so swamped when you got married. I couldn't make it. First thing I did when I got back was come say sorry to your wife. The woman raised an eyebrow, glanced at me, then turned back to Ethan. What are you staring at? Go get Chloe. It's been 4 years since I saw her last. Wonder how much she's changed. We'd been married over a year, and I'd seen this scene 100 times. Ethan never bothered to explain. He'd just brush it off. Change the subject. This time was no different. He smiled casually and redirected the conversation. You've got time to worry about other people. Uncle lined up a dozen blind dates for you. Everyone in New York knows you've got a year to get married. I watched Ethan, so calm and unbothered. This time, I didn't do what I always did, jump in to stake my claim. I just slipped quietly out of the office, because just then, I'd thought of the perfect way to get him to sign those papers. I met with the HR manager just as Chloe was heading up to see Ethan. It wasn't long before word spread through the whole office. Chloe and Ethan's cousin had hugged and caught up like old friends. The HR manager sighed in relief and handed me the papers. Good thing I made the right call. Can you imagine if I'd tried to transfer Chloe? The fallout would have been brutal. I took the papers with both hands and smiled along. Yeah, no kidding. The whole office was whispering that Ethan and Chloe would be getting back together any day now. I didn't care anymore. I just picked up the household staff renewal contracts, same as last year, and waited for the right moment to slip the transfer papers in with them so Ethan would sign everything at once. I didn't expect the chance to come so soon. Someone had accidentally leaked that Ethan was married, and the date on the marriage license fell right when Chloe was on vacation abroad. The office narrative flipped overnight. 1 minute everyone was gushing about their high school sweetheart Stoding Bell's love story. The next they were calling Chloe a homewrecker. I headed upstairs to find Ethan in the chaos, and heard Chloe crying inside his office. Everyone just assumed. I never once said I was your wife. And now, I didn't do anything, but everyone's coming for me. You have no idea how awful they are. They're calling me a homewrecker, saying I only got that project by sleeping my way to the top. She looked up at him, cheeks streaked with tears, biting her lip like she was humiliated. Did Anya spread those rumors on purpose? She's acted like she hates me ever since I got here. This is just her way of getting rid of me, isn't it? Fine, Ethan, I get it. 8 years together, and this is how it ends. I deserve it. I'll leave. Chloe. Ethan's voice was calm as he caught her wrist. We'll fix this. Don't do anything rash. You don't have much work experience, and you can't stay in one place. Where would you go if you left here? But everyone's talking about me, calling me names. Ethan stood there, tall and composed, looking at Chloe on the verge of breaking down, and gave a helpless smile. He turned her to face him, speaking like he was comforting a child. If I prove I'm single right now, all these rumors will die on their own. We just have to pretend to get divorced. Once everyone forgets about this, I'll transfer you to a branch office. Then find the right time to go public with Anya and me. She's always wanted us to be open about our marriage. If I tell her this is a fake divorce to make that happen, she'll agree. I know she will. For a second, my heart stopped, even though I'd already made up my mind to leave. Hearing how far Ethan would go for Chloe sent a sharp, bitter ache through my throat, but the hurt faded fast. I took a deep breath, tightened my grip on the stack of papers, and pushed open the door. Ethan had been helping Chloe move these past few days, handling everything himself. He hadn't been home. He had no idea I'd moved out. When our eyes met, a flicker of annoyance crossed his face. "What are you doing here?" He must have remembered what Chloe had just said, because he looked at me warily, a warning in his tone. "Did you come here to demand I fire Chloe?" I bit back my anger, feigning casualness as I shoved the stack of contracts into his arms. "All these are up for renewal. You handled them last year, so I figured." "Got it." He took them coldly. He signed as he spoke, voice low. "You could have handled this yourself. It's nothing. Had to come find me at work. Huh, that desperate to see me." He gave a cold laugh and handed all the signed papers back to me. "Next time just say you miss me. This excuse is childish." "Oh, Anne." He cleared his throat awkwardly, looking away instead of meeting my eyes. His voice was rough. "There's a lot of gossip around the office, and it's hurting Chloe. The only way to fix it is for us to get a fake divorce prove she's not what everyone says she is. Don't worry, as soon as this blows over, we'll get remarried right away. Then we'll find the right time to go public with everything. You've always wanted us to be open about our marriage. You'll say yes, won't you?" I kept my head down, my body trembling from the effort of holding back everything I felt. But to Ethan, it looked like I was crying. Upset. His tone softened. "Anya, don't be like this. 1 month. Tops. Then we'll get married again." I couldn't stand there another second. I said okay and hurried downstairs before I could change my mind. Chloe pushed Ethan to go to the county clerk's office that very afternoon. When we parted, Ethan looked at me and said, "I'll come home to you as soon as this gossip is over." I paused for a step, but didn't turn around. There would be no home for us. "Ethan, tonight." I was leaving New York, watching Anya walk away. A strange feeling settled in Ethan's chest. She was usually so gentle, so obedient except when it came to Chloe. Then she'd turn sharp, defensive, like a cat with its back up. But not today. Today she just accepted it. Accepted him being with Chloe. Before he knew what he was doing, Ethan took a step forward, about to call her back. "Ethan." Chloe tugged at his sleeve, pouting. "There's still the 30-day mandatory waiting period. If you go after her now, all this will be for nothing." "What about me?" Then, looking at Chloe's red, teary eyes, Ethan sighed softly. He told himself, "Anya only agreed because I said we'd go public with the marriage after this fake divorce. Once the gossip dies down, I'll transfer Chloe away. I'll fix everything. Then I'll give her what she wants. Everyone will know Anya is my wife." So Ethan stayed where he was, side by side with Chloe, and watched silently as Anya got into a car with just a small bag on her shoulder. He didn't think too much of it. When Chloe beside him started to cheer up, Ethan relaxed too. That afternoon, Ethan went downstairs to check on Chloe, to make sure she was holding up okay. He heard her speaking to the other employees, arrogant and sharp. "Ethan and I got together when we were 19, 8 years. If I hadn't gotten bored and broken up with him, we never would have split." Talking behind my back. "Are you all that stupid? Can't you see how he treats me? If he really had a wife, why wouldn't she show her face?" To his surprise, the people Chloe was insulting didn't argue back. They just exchanged meaningful looks and walked away. Ethan stood there, frozen. After a long moment, he stopped the cleaning lady passing by and asked, "Do Chloe and I look like a couple to you?" The woman looked at him like he was crazy. "Aren't you? Even if you're not, it's basically a done deal, isn't it?" Ethan suddenly remembered Chloe saying she thought Anya had spread the rumors to force them to go public. He asked, "What about me and Anya?" The woman laughed out loud, like he'd told the funniest joke she'd ever heard. "Last time Chloe passed out, Anya was trying to help, getting her juice. You came rushing over and shoved her so hard she fell, cut her leg bad. Blood everywhere. I saw it. Got her antiseptic and patched her up myself. You think she'd spread rumors? No one would believe that. Even her worst enemy would have felt bad for her that day." The air felt thick, heavy. Ethan stood there, stunned. A cold, sick feeling settled in his stomach. Too late. He realized he'd messed up badly the second day after I arrived in Austin. Chloe sent me a video. In it, Ethan lay with his eyes closed, sated. His chest was covered in bright red scratch marks. It didn't take a genius to figure out what had happened the night before. I hit save before she could unsend it. More messages popped up. See? Things that don't belong to you will slip away, no matter how hard you hold on. I was the one who got bored and broke up with him, actually, but I traveled abroad for a while and realized no one's better for me than Ethan. When I decided I wanted him back, I found out he'd married you, but whatever, if I want him, he'll be mine. I didn't bother replying. I just screen recorded the whole thing. I'd spent yesterday putting together a detailed timeline of everything. I'd been worried I didn't have hard enough proof. I exhaled slowly and texted back, "Oh." The typing indicator kept blinking on her end. While I waited, I organized the video and chat logs and added them to the presentation. By the time I was done, she still hadn't replied. Good enough, I thought. I sent the presentation to every shareholder on the board. Ethan didn't seem to know Chloe had messaged me. When he called and told me to come to his office, his voice was tired. "Anya, you've been so good about all this. How about I treat you to a trip? I'll clear my schedule and come with you." I pushed open the door to my new office and made a soft sound of inquiry. "Aren't you with Chloe?" Maybe I was imagining it, but his breath caught. He sounded nervous, like he was testing the waters. "You heard about the dinner with Chloe last night, didn't you?" "It's nothing." She was really upset about all the gossip. Kept crying. "We got a few old friends together to eat. It got so late, I didn't." "You slept with her." My voice was eerily calm, even to my own ears. "Want me to send you the video?" Ethan went silent. I walked through the office, greeting my new coworkers as I went, and kept talking into the phone. "Besides, we're in the 30-day waiting period for the divorce now. Remember? We went to the county clerk's office together, filed the papers. That means you don't have to tell me what you do, not even who you sleep with." The next second, I heard a cup shatter, followed by Ethan's low, angry curse. I was getting annoyed, about to hang up, when he sighed heavily and spoke again, calmer. "But you know Chloe and I were together for 8 years. You know we slept together back then. This was just one time, that's all. You can't write me off over one mistake." "Fine, I was wrong. Come up to my office right now, and I'll apologize to your face." Around me, my coworkers were chatting in the break room, their southern accents thick. There was a pause on the line. Then Ethan's voice came, shaking. "Where are you? You're not at the office." I listened quietly as he rushed downstairs, yelling furiously at the HR manager. "Why isn't Anya Reed at work? Transferred. Who approved that? The final step is my signature. You know that." I pinched the bridge of my nose. I hated listening to him take it out on the manager. I said, tired, "You signed it yourself." "Ethan, it was in that stack of papers." At last, I reminded him of the date we'd go back for the final divorce decree. He argued, reluctant. Kept saying he'd win me back, but I knew better. He wouldn't have the time. Ethan's father had been a notorious playboy in New York back in his day. He'd never married, but he had 4 sons and 3 daughters. Ethan was just one of them, nothing more. So it didn't take long for the shareholders to vote him out. They'd put someone else in charge. After all, steady stock growth was worth a lot more than Ethan Pierce. I heard the news while I was chatting with the old HR manager in my bright, spacious new office. He shook his head, genuinely impressed. Everyone knew the Austin transfer was a promotion, but no one wanted to go. Everyone's dead set on staying in New York. You're the only one smart enough to put your own happiness first. Before I could answer, he leaned in, gossipy and mysterious. No idea what Ethan did, but the board kicked him out. The new CEO is the youngest Pierce daughter. Total powerhouse, doesn't mess around. Guess who's first on her list to clean house? I smiled, knowing exactly what he meant, and said nothing. Who else? Chloe. Of course, the one who'd gotten hired through the back door. I didn't stick around to hear how badly she was faring. All of that was in the past. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. I had more money than I could ever spend now. I worked only because it gave me a sense of purpose. Someday, when I got tired of it, I'd quit and travel the world. Life was good. Then one day, I was leaving work, looking forward to a nice dinner. When I saw him standing there, the last person I expected to see in Austin, Ethan looked thinner, standing there in the wind. He seemed unkempt, worn down. He stared at me like he couldn't believe his eyes. After a long silence, he spoke, his voice rough and raw. "Anya, come home with me." He strode forward and reached for my arm, talking fast. Frantic. "It's okay. We can start over. You can come work at." "Ethan, are you insane?" I wrenched my hand away, disgusted, and said coldly. "You signed my transfer papers yourself. Your official signature is right there on them. Go check if you don't believe me." But I thought it was just he looked crushed by my reaction, his eyes glistening. It wasn't supposed to be like this. He was panicking now. Truly panicked. "You can't do this to me. I didn't do anything wrong." "You're right. You didn't do anything wrong." I looked back at everything we'd been through and decided to say it out loud. "You just kept choosing between me and Chloe, and every single time you chose her. That's all. You just cared about her so much you'd hurt me before you'd let her be upset. That's all. You just thought about her, without even meaning to, over and over again when you were with me. That's all." I watched his face grow paler and paler, and asked him honestly, "If that's how it was, why did you chase me so hard? Why were you so good to me? Why did you want a home so badly, and then never come back to it? Do you have any idea how many times I convinced myself it was all my fault? But it wasn't. I hadn't been wrong. The love I'd thought I had was never real, never pure." Ethan hadn't left the company by choice. His brothers and sisters had always hated each other, always been at each other's throats, and this was their chance to Strakido kick him while he was down. While their father had already turned on him, I'd reached out to Mr. Pierce Sr. myself, at the right moment. "My request is simple. I want a clean, straightforward divorce, and that presentation that could tank your new company's IPO. I'll make sure every copy is destroyed." The elder Mr. Pierce had been proud his whole life. He'd always bragged that he'd had countless women but never let any of them cause trouble. He'd kept every one of them under control, taken care of. None had ever caused a public scandal. Ethan was the first son who'd ever made him feel ashamed. I heard that when someone mocked him for having such a lovesick, useless son, the proud old man had actually gotten into a fight, and right after that, he'd given a strict order. No one was ever to give Ethan a position of power again. He would never be allowed to climb back up. Then Mr. Pierce had a sudden stroke, and all his children turned on each other, fighting for control of the empire. None of that mattered to me. All I knew was, on the day we were to finalize the divorce, Ethan showed up right on time. I thought about 2 years ago. He'd been just like this then, waiting for me outside the county clerk's office before I even arrived. Back then, he'd been sharp in his suit, bright and confident. Now, he looked like a wreck. The cold, elegant man I'd known was gone. He wore baggy, worn clothes, had stubble on his jaw, and his hair was a mess. Once my dad got sick, the whole family fell apart. Or maybe there never was a real family to begin with. I already lost my position at the company. Now those vultures took the house, the cars, everything. I quietly slipped the luxury jewelry off my wrists and fingers and tucked them into my pocket. I shifted the vacant handbag he'd bought at auction behind my back, out of sight. Then I let him keep talking. I was always too proud. I thought all of it would always be there. I never thought I could lose it, including you, Anya. These past months without you, I finally see how much I hurt you by letting Chloe cross every line. I looked at him, his eyes red and glistening, about to pour his heart out. I stepped back and cut him off. "Cold. Don't tell me you only realized you love me now that you've lost me." He stared at me, stunned. I kept going. "Chloe was right. You know, it's just the newness. You got bored of her after 8 years. If we'd stayed together, you'd have gotten bored of me too. Eventually. The only reason you can't let go now is because you can't stand not getting what you want. You always want what you can't have." The second that word left my mouth, I saw him physically deflate. He dropped his gaze, like he couldn't bear to hear anymore, and walked quickly toward the county clerk's office. "Let's go. You're free." When we walked out with the divorce decree in hand, Ethan stood in the bright sun and stared at me, dazed. "As soon as I save up enough for a plane ticket to Austin, I'll come see you." We'll see each other again, won't we? I said nothing. I didn't tell him that all the money he'd given me this past year, out of guilt, was more than enough. Enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. As long as I didn't waste it. I'd already quit my job. I was leaving Austin, heading somewhere new. From now on, the world was wide open. I'd never see Ethan Pierce again. This time, I thought to myself, maybe freedom is better.